Hello, my name is Autumn Rowe, and I'm a singer, songwriter, DJ, mentor, activist, and SONA board member. Thank you for joining SONA and I in this very special Black History Month event. As today marks the last day of Black History Month, going into Women's History Month, I want to honor some incredible women who have not only survived in an ever-changing climate, but have thrived. These women are from different genres and not even in the same country, but we might see some similarities in their stories. While we need to honor our ancestors and those who paved the way for us today, we must also look around at those paving the way for the future. And that's why I've asked these ladies here today. So I'm going to introduce these incredible women. First, my friend of 20 years, Reese Palmer. I've condensed their files a bit because these women have done so much. In 2007, she released her debut album, Reese Palmer, charting singles Country Girl, Hold On To Me, and No Air. Since then, Reese has independently released a Christmas single, her first children's album, Best Day Ever, which is incredible, and an EP titled The Back Porch Sessions. Her most recent album, Revival, was released in 2019 and has been critically hailed as her most personal and uplifting work to date. A few highlights throughout her musical career includes performances at the White House, Lincoln Center, and the Grand Ole Opry. She's toured extensively across the country, sharing stages with Taylor Swift, and been on Oprah and Friends and tons of other TV appearances. As a passionate voice for country artists of color and those who have been marginalized in mainstream country music, Reese launched her own radio show, Color Me Country, with Reese Palmer on Apple Music Country. In conjunction with her radio show, Reese also created the Color Me Country Artist Grant Fund, designed to support new country artists of color who are just beginning to build their music careers. Thank you for joining us, Reese. You're such a boss. Bobby.
Amazing.
And I'm sorry, I'm saying her name with the most New York accent, but I don't know how to say it any other way. And
Sabby.
Sabby. I'm like, Sabby. Terrible. Bagels, coffee. Okay. Janice Savion, affectionately known as Sabby, began her professional career in entertainment while still in college. She was discovered by super producer Dr. Luke, and in this period, she landed her first multi-platinum selling Billboard Top 10 record, You Make Me Feel, la 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 la, with the group Cobra Starship, and she performed on the song Drop Dead Beautiful with the iconic Britney Spears, and later accompanied her on tour. After performing at the MTV VMAs, The Tonight Show, AGT, and a successful tour with Britney, other artists came knocking for Sabby. Diplo, Wale, Tyga reached out for collaborations, and Sabby released her solo mixtape, Project 0 to 60 Love Sounds. Upon Sabby's success, she was selected to play the role of feisty best friend Natalie Gomez in the NBCU Telemundo film Isa, hope I said that right, which premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel, Chiller Moon 2, and later Telemundo. As an additional creative outlet, Sabby hosts a show on Apple Music global radio station Beats One Radio. Woohoo, Sabby! Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
This is a boss room for anyone who's just joining. Okay.
And I meant to like add that the show now that I host is called Easy Hits on Apple Music.
It is, and I actually knew that.
Yes.
2 radio hosts in the building. Okay, if you guys want your songs played, you need to plug now. Okay, so. Kelly Lee, based and raised in South London, sang 3 UK top 10 singles. She has 2 UK number ones, 1 Grammy-nominated voice on I Got You. Her voice streamed over 500 million times, over 500 million streams worldwide, and she has her own label, Music Core. Her own music on her label has combined over 3 million streams. She has a current single out with Mr. Jam, and she's freaking awesome. So let's give it up for Kelly Lee.
Thanks, Autumn. Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, I'm just gonna get straight into it. So, Reese, I'm gonna quote you from USA Today.
Okay.
You said, I think that in this business, we're a dime a dozen. And if you're too much trouble, or if you cost too much, or if you're not making them enough money, it all has to do with the bottom line. And if you're not meeting that, I think you're disposable.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience like being a Black country artist and a woman?
Lord, I'm gonna try to condense this into a short so it'll fit in the hour. So country music has been notorious in the last 20 years for its treatment of women, specifically on radio, and that you can pretty much hear 5 men to every 1 woman played on country radio. And so add to that being a woman, add to that being a Black woman. And I just got some numbers the other day. Black artists or artists of color, that includes Latinx, Indigenous, all of that, we count for 0.06% of the music that has been on the charts in the last 20 years in country music. So, yeah, I mean, when you see the numbers, it makes your skin crawl. So my experience was just a lot of, I don't want to make it sound like it was all terrible and everything was awful and awful, because it wasn't. Like, there were people that stood up for me and that took a chance on me and that welcomed me into the situation. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have accomplished the things that I was able to do. So I'm very grateful and thankful to all those people. But for every person that was like, come write with us, or I'm going to play you on our radio station, or we would like you to play this festival or whatever. There were others that were like, we had a radio station just blatantly flat out tell my radio promoters that they were not going to ever play me. They were not going to play a Black woman. And so don't even bring me by. And I had experiences where I wasn't allowed on a stage that my name was on. And because the security guard was like, well, what are you doing here? And so, you had to stand and you had to perform in front of people holding Confederate flags. And because it's very much a part of the culture. And so, I spent a lot of my time when I wasn't being a creative, trying to, number one, defend myself, like my authenticity and my sincerity of wanting to be in the genre in the first place. And then 2, being a woman in a male dominated field, you're always passing off or trying to, oh, he's just flirting. It's fine. Like, oh, you just, okay, can you just play the song? All right, you better stop. And like that, like you're always trying to get along, to get along. And yeah, it's exhausting. And so when I finally left my label, after a year long, and it was a mess. Autumn knows, she was there. Like, it was a hot mess. And it was a mess because of a lot of decisions that I made, business-wise and personally, and a lot of decisions that the label made, business-wise. And so once I left, I just decided that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it on my own. And so I've been independent, like 100% independent, for the past 13 years. And yeah. And it's, I mean, there's still stuff, but it's like, I don't have to be quiet about it because there's no one telling me to be quiet. Like, at the end of the day, I sign the checks. So
that part.
No, yeah, it was an interesting experience. And so much so that I've decided that my job from here on out, outside of being an artist, is to make sure that new artists that come along don't have to deal with those things. And so that's why I started the fund, because I'm like, if you know that you have the money to pay your rent, then you don't have to sign that contract, or you don't have to work with that producer, or you don't have to have that manager, because I got you for now. So you can figure out something to do, like in the next 4 weeks, next 5 weeks, whatever. And I say the things that artists that are signed can't say, because again, I don't have anybody telling me that I can't. And so I just feel like that's really important. I feel like that's an important role and something that I didn't have when I was signed and when I was out doing it. So it's really important to me to do that. So I answered lots of questions in that statement. So
I mean, you hit so many points. I'm like, I want to chime in because they resonated. Like, whoa, Like
Yeah.
can I chime in? Well, one of the things that the first off was a quote, and the quote that she said about women of color being a dime a dozen. That was how I felt in my experience in the industry, and I was in the pop section. And in general, as a woman of color in the industry, I felt like R&B or whatever it is, you're a dime a dozen. If you don't want to be the whatever they're saying that you need to be, well, there's like 20 lined up that are willing to do that and do whatever it takes to do it. So in the pop space is very at the time, because we're talking about 2010, 2011, it's dominated by a couple of women of color. So there's a sense of competition of like, these are the only ones that can sort of hold this space for pop. And everyone else is just sort of like, well, again, don't be too difficult. Don't try to have something unique or something to say. This is the formula, and you may or may not get through, you know. In fact, all of the songs that were sent to me were like rejects from other of the bigger artists. And so that was one of the reasons where I was like, I have to write my own songs, because I will never sound anything different or new or bring anything different to the table cutting these records. And another thing that you said was, oh my God, you said so many things. I'm like trying to piggyback off of it. Well, I'll just get into my story because I can't even remember. You said so many things, but I think it is important that there are resources for new artists to, you know, have a space. Like you said, if you can pay your rent, if you can sustain yourself, then it alleviates some of the pressure of like, well, I have to do this. This is the only way that I can get this done. Because when I was starting out, like I was a full-time student at Cal State Long Beach, and I don't come from money, working class immigrant parents. And so I was literally going to school full time and then like maxing out credit cards to get gas and food and clothes to perform or go to studio sessions. And then the sexual harassment, that's what you talked on. That is a big deal for women, okay, period, any color that you are. And in the industry, we do not have human resources to be like, hey, this is what's happening right now. There's no like brochure that everyone has to read and take a quiz on of like, is this sexual harassment? This is how you know it is. So you're in these sessions, you're in these rooms, and this is not everyone, obviously, but a lot of the massaging and like trying to like play cool and like trying not to be the difficult one or the rude one or whatever, but also holding your ground and like still trying to get the work done. And so that is a game that women have to play that is very exhausting. And sexual harassment can go both ways. I've seen it happen to guys in different setups, but in my experience, it was exhausting. And it's something that later on I was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I'm not gonna play this game anymore. And I too have been independent for the last, I don't know, maybe 6 years, and have started, you know, doing other ventures of like, you know, radio or acting or creating art, where like clothing or whatever, because it's like, I want to be in control of my own destiny, and I don't want it to be dependent on the gatekeepers who say, okay, she, you know, we like her, and according to our standards, like this will work or whatever, because you can't live your life that way based on people's opinions, and their opinions are, you know, who knows what the standards of what their opinions are based off of, but depends on who's the, you know, who's the gatekeeper, who's the one saying so. But that meant the difference between whether your record is going to get pushed out or not, whether you're going to get marketing or not. And it's just like, this can't be life. Like, I got to do something else. So yeah, those are some of the things that came to mind.
Many good points. I'm going to read a quote from Kelly, which is from Mix Magazine, and it all connects with what both of you guys talked about. This is Mix Mag quote. Black women's vocals are used to make a great track, but visually they are nowhere to be seen. Outside of her music, Henry Davila.
Henry Davila, my surname.
Davila. Okay, sorry, has featured in only one video for a song that was a lyric video of a live performance. If these music videos had the singers in them that are so great to sing their songs, we could be looking at something so different in our society and our charts, she says. Visual erasure of Black women in the music industry is something that Kelly Lee is concerned about. I'm a darker mixed race girl, so I haven't had the stereotypical mixed race look that is fashionable for the industry to use. Lighter mixed race girls are more marketable. So much of your marketability as an artist is predicted on what you look like, and Kelly Lee is no stranger to those pressures. I've got anxiety from social media for not thinking I look cool enough. I question if I look sexy enough to get attention from a label. You are so sexy, girl, and so cool. I just have to say that. Like, don't ever doubt yourself.
Thanks,
But
Gord.
those I read that, and and just everything you said is so spot on. Yeah, tell us more about your experience.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I mean, last year in particular was, you know, such a heavy year with everything that happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and this kind of, obviously the pandemic forcing us all to stop. So we had to stop and listen and start having some very difficult and necessary conversations. And, you know, for me, I've sung a lot of very big dance records. And in dance music, especially in the UK dance music scene and the Europe music scene, you know, Black and mixed vocals are a big thing. And the songs that I ended up singing, it kind of just happened at that time that the use of like 90s R&B and soul and stuff I grew up listening to and absolutely loved, my voice fit. Like I Got You as a sample of Whitney, and, you know, she's one of my, you know, she's the queen. And also my physiology works as well in terms of like my face shape and the way I'm built to resonate with my voice. And it started off, you know, like Sabi said, you know, the low income background and working class is the same for me. And that is, I feel like so many of our stories is that a lot of us as mixed race and Black women come from low income backgrounds, and we work so hard, we go above and beyond to try and get a foot on this ladder and keep growing. But then when we have something which happens, like for me, the year of 2014, I sang, you know, my vocals were on 2 #1 singles, another top 40 record. I was on radio everywhere here, but my name was nowhere to be seen. And at first it started off with me just being so grateful, you know, and just feeling like, oh my God, I'm so glad I sang this record and this is so exciting. But then also being told, be quiet, don't say that's you singing that record, don't try and do your own shows with this record because it's not about you, you're going to distract from the campaign for that DJ. And it's like, after a while you start getting a little bit resentful because, yeah, hold on, I do need to pay my rent here because no one's paying it for me. I'm trying to self-invest in my own career and keep growing whilst I'm hustling, doing session jobs here and BV jobs there, and then writing a song this week with some producer, you know. And I think just over the years I started to notice this pattern, and I got fed up of seeing these guys that I'd sung these records for absolutely excelling, and then other artists that had done less than what I had achieved managing to get investment and support. And it was like, what is different about me to all these other people who are like making it, being men or being lighter skinned? And or if they were, like we said, dime a dozen, it's like 1 in, 1 out policy. And generally, if you're Black or slightly darker skinned, they say you've got to be R&B or something. And it's all these weird stereotypes that we've got to play around with. And while it's sort of being grateful and excited to be in the industry, and then when you start thinking, this isn't correct, I might need to put my foot down here, navigating the balance of looking like you're coming across being difficult and not being able to utilize your voice. And I just felt, you know, my voice, I was inundated with calls and emails to sing on all these records. And I felt like my voice has all the power here. My voice has got so much power in it for these people, but yet not for me. And that's why I set up my own label in 2018. And that was after More Than Friends with James Hype went top 10. So this was my 3rd top 10 record in the UK, but the first one with my name on it. And I thought, okay, this one's got my name on it. So, you know, this is going to do things. This is going to open doors. It didn't. So I was like, and it was one of the biggest records of that year. And again, I was just like, what do I need to do here? Like, what else is it? What am I missing? And, you know, we go through those things where we start thinking, you know, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't look strong enough. Maybe I'm not coming across sexy enough. Maybe I'm not, you know, all these things. And you start going, well, why do I constantly have to keep being better when I'm seeing some people who are not putting in the effort and the work that I'm putting in, running past me, sprinting past me, and I'm still like knocking on these doors going, hey, you're listening to my voice right now on the radio. Could we chat about a record for me? And yeah, so that's when it shifted for me. When I set up my label, I was like, I'm gonna let people know I'm an artist, and because I say I am. And then fair play to you know, certain industry people. I suppose I didn't have enough artist presence and profile. Nowadays you've got to do a lot of self-investment, but also that period made me have to really grow into my own self-belief and going, this is my vision, this is what I'm going to make happen, this is what I'm going to do with my record. And yeah, exhausting as well, what Reese said at the beginning. It's so true. It is exhausting that we don't have those women to look to, apart from, like, you know, Rihanna and Beyonce, and then the other women that get allowed into those other spaces, but we don't have enough to like look at each other and just support. And I think that's what's been the most powerful about, you know, what you're doing today, and a lot of the women I've chatted to last year, is that actually we've all got such a similar story, regardless of what genre we're doing or whatever. And I think the best trick that's been pulled is to make us all think that we're on our own and we're individual and we're going through it by ourselves, when actually we're not. And yeah, last year I used my voice, and yeah, sorry, I just waffled on there, but
I want to ask you guys a roundtable question. Do you think if music videos feature the actual singers in these dance records, that there would be a culture shift in what's considered marketable?
Yeah. 1,000%, because that's the instant audience direct relationship with the vocal that they love. Like the amount of times that people are like, I can't believe you sung that record, that's my favorite record, I've loved your voice on this record, I had no idea it was you. And it's like, we're being denied our own opportunity there to grow ourselves and to be present, and that's the hardest thing.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you know, in dance music, that seems to be pretty prevalent, huh? Like, because like I remember being a kid and hearing about CNC Music Factory and like the whole thing where they had that video. I forget the name of the song. I think it was called "Do You Want to Get Funky with Me?" And they finally put Martha Wash in the video. Yeah, and that was like a big deal. I remember that was like a huge deal. And it's just like, it's so funny. But like on the countryside, it's like, just play the video. Like, it's not even just put me in the video. Like, just play the video that goes along with the song, or just play the song. And so it's so funny. It's like, I don't think white people, and this isn't an indictment, this is just the truth. I think that when whiteness is normalized, like that's the standard for everything. I've said this in another interview, but when whiteness is the standard, then anything else that doesn't deviate from doesn't seem weird. Like, so it's like growing up watching MTV or watching VH1 or CMT or whatever, and you see these images of white women or blonde women, or of white men, or very fair-skinned white black women, and, you know, for a time, very light-skinned black men, like, you think that that's normal because that's what you see all the time. And so it's not a big deal to you. So when something deviates from that, you don't realize how earth-shattering that is for people, especially people that are larger, like larger body types, or people that are darker, or people that are LGBTQ or whatever. Like, you don't realize how important that is, because it doesn't deviate from what you're normally seeing. And so it's just, it's so funny, but like, representation matters. Yeah. It takes form in so many different ways that you don't even think about it. Like, we've been so programmed, all of us, Black people, white people, Latinx people, whatever. Like, we've all been so programmed by white supremacy that we don't even notice when things are like, that's a little off. Like, Why am I only
No,
seeing
you're right.
this type of person? Why am I only hearing this type of voice? And it's crazy. Like,
You're
yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
I was Kelly said something about the marketing of racial ambiguity or whatever, and it's something that I experienced. And I started in a girl group, and in the girl group, I'm from Inglewood, the girls from Watts. The music we were making was more on the hip hop side, and I remember we did a song that was more alternative rock. And at this time, we had did our first deal with Warner Brothers, and we sent it in, and they sent it back. And I heard our producers discussing the meeting, and they were saying, Warner Brothers, at the time, they were like, whoever was in charge, that they didn't want to see or hear alternative music from two Black girls. And then I remember when I went in my pop stage, and they were grooming me, to be this pop girl and everything. All of a sudden, the more racially ambiguous I was, the better for marketing purposes. And so it was like, straighten your hair all the time, and you can look more other, and it's more mass appeal and things like that. And so that was very, very interesting to get like two different messages depending on what they were marketing and packaging me for. And so it was just like, why is my Blackness or proximity to Blackness controlled and like by someone else on like how that is packaged and shipped to the world? That was just very, very interesting. So there is a flaw in that. But I think now too, the can has opened, the woodworks have opened, the internet has changed the game. It's changed so much that we are able to see different bodies and different complexions and textures, and sexual preferences, that orientations come out and have their own fan base and have their own shine in the spotlight, mostly independent. And so I think that's a good thing. I think that we have had a shift. So, but it is very much still rooted in that for the mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've started noticing a shift here, and I'm involved with the FAC, which is the Featured Artists Coalition, which is like the Music Managers Forum, but for artists. And I'm doing some work with the MU as well, to make sure session singers like myself, when they're going in sessions, if they don't have management or any kind of financial backing, that they know what they're getting into and what their rights are and what they can ask for. Because when I was doing sessions, I had no idea. I was just happy to be getting the money in to pay my rent, etc. And that's when you sort of end up in situations like going, okay, what could I possibly done differently here then? And how does that affect me down the road with like my PPL, which is like my royalties for being on those records and stuff. And yeah, and I think that's the diversity and representation is just so important, because it's just that chance for equal opportunity. Like for myself, I wasn't going, I deserve to have a top 10 record, which is mine, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, no, I just want my chance to see if my music can do something. Like, please give it a chance, put it on that playlist. And if the skip rate is high, fair play. But I'd quite like to be on that playlist to see if the skip rate is high. Or I'd love you to play my song on radio to see if the listeners liked it. And it's that again, that gatekeeper thing. It's like we don't often get those opportunities to even cross that threshold to see what we can do. And yeah, I think that's the industry challenge. I mean, from these discussions, people are getting it, and that's really exciting to see what's going to come. But I think over the years, like when you don't have that representation, I mean, I spoke to an A&R years back who was from a dance label, and he was super lovely to me, really like a really great guy. But I spoke to him, I was like, why don't we just try doing a me record? And he literally didn't get it. It's like I spoke a foreign language, and he hadn't even, it wasn't even a concept or a thing, because it just wasn't done. It was just male producer, DJ, get a vocal in that works. She disappears and that guy's career builds and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, God, there's no way anyone's challenging this scene, because also we've been made to feel so scared to speak up, to challenge it, that it just, the cycle perpetuates. And then, you know, if no one's going to be strong enough to think outside the box, when does that change come?
Absolutely. Oh, so many topics to tackle. Oh my God.
I know.
I want to just touch on two more things, and then give people a chance to ask questions and you guys to promote your projects. This is more of like an overall women's thing. I recently hosted a women in music workshop, and the statistics were quite shocking for me. Partially, I think because I surround myself with people similar to me, so I actually didn't realize what a minority we were. I was a bit in a bubble, but these were some of the statistics. Only 21.7% of artists are women. 12.5% of writers are women. 56% of all popular songs have zero female writers. Eight
Wow.
out of 1,039 producers are women of color. The male to female ratio of producers based on 500 popular songs are 37-1. I want to ask each of you, how do you feel about these numbers?
Wow. Not surprised.
Woo!
Wow.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Do you know what? I love these numbers because for me, then it's cold hard fact. Like you can't ignore and say these are just our feelings and maybe just how we've perceived it. It's cold hard facts. I mean, there was a similar study done here from a woman called Vic Bain, who's got the F list for UK female artists directory, because there's so many festivals that are just booking hardly any female artists, etc. And a woman called Nadia Khan, who now owns Women in Control, which she did a radio study. And again, it was like, we found that 20%, like you said, of all artists signed are female, and radio, the statistics were mental. And it's just like, yes, I mean, I'm shocked, but at the same time, it's like validation for these things that we've been feeling and going, okay, so I'm not crazy. It says it here in the numbers. So I love this because you can take this like bar chart and spreadsheet for someone who wants to be a bit difficult with the feeling of it and go, okay, well, here you go. Read this and what do you think of this? How can we affect that?
I agree with Kelly. I think that I have today on my show, actually, on Color Me Country, I'm interviewing two musicologists, and one of them is Dr. Jada Watson, and she's from a company in Canada called Song Facts. And her particular focus is country music, but they do this for all genres. And the numbers are just like, you can say all day that I'm bitter or that I'm angry or that I'm mean or like Reese's, but like, or you can say, anybody that's arguing about that, you can say the same thing about Mickey Guyton or any of the other people that are talking about this stuff in country music. Like you can say that we're all angry, bitter Black women, whatever. But then when you look at the bar graph, it's like, You see that? That little flat line right there? That's us. Hi. And I think you can't argue with it. And it's like at some point, I mean, but it's just like with everything in the world, in this country in particular, like it's all hyperbole and anger and bitterness and until you see the numbers. And it's like, oh, we're not making this up. Like this is really a thing. This is really what's happening. So more numbers, please.
Yeah.
Like after a while, I'm just gonna start wearing t-shirts with the numbers on them. Just sit in panels and just be like, it's real. It's real.
It is real. All of this is real. And like you said, this all validates all of our experiences. Like, okay, this is not in our heads because it is male dominated and those are the gatekeepers in every aspect. I think I would give advice to the next generation of female creators to, as far as the production numbers, is to maybe learn to produce. That's something that I feel like I've been itching away at, like trying to overcome the learning curve of like running the programs and like getting my ideas into the programs in a timely fashion. And there are some female producers out there, a few, like you said, there was like 8% or something, or 8 out of 100. Okay, 8, literally 8 that have maybe made a mainstream success, and so I have a homegirl named Tiffany Delilah, and she created a foundation called Girls Make Beats. And it is all dedicated to teaching girls how to produce their own records. So I think that's one way to like help alleviate this situation. But when it comes to like songwriting, I don't really know. You can write a million songs, but if you don't have the right team, or if you don't have the right, politics in your favor to get your records to big artists, that could be the difference. So I don't really know. Some of these situations, I don't know what the solution is, but producing, that's what I'm like telling every girl that wants to be an artist, like play an instrument and produce, and like you can with the internet get your own stuff out there, but the rest of it is like it's the reality of it. Like I don't really know, besides people acknowledging that this is the case, besides us, other people acknowledging like this is really the case, and like people coming together to make an initiative to like have more women have more say in every aspect of music, because I know I focus on the production because I know the power dynamics that I've experienced with dealing with getting records with producers in charge and owning the music and keeping the music or whatever, has been like, I'm going to learn how to produce, forget this. So that's like one way, but I don't know, guys. I don't know.
I think
that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just totally echoing Sabi. I mean, like I've been very key on talking to other artists and younger artists coming up and singers and independent artists just to know the business side. And it's taken me time to really understand like points and master splits and all those kinds of things. And that's like thankfully to a really great lawyer that I've got, and he just spent time speaking to me about it, and so I can pass on some of the information that I've learned and just really understand it, because I feel like we do come into it, well, a lot of artists come into it, the big dream, and then as you go through this process and start hitting these like glass ceilings and sudden closed doors and going, oh my God, what do I do? And there's no knight in shining label armor to make you a star. Like, okay, well, I best learn the music business, really, and I think that makes you become more of a boss in your own situation and puts your, guard up to know what you're going into, and you can start calling the shots and go, that sounds right, that doesn't sound right. And if you don't know, go, great, I'll come back to you on that. Let me do some research. And the other thing I think is just really key is just this, like what we're doing is just keep talking and just encouraging people that their stories are valid. Doesn't matter how small to how big, stuff. And again, some of these chats I've had with other female artists, stuff that they felt like maybe I'm being weird or maybe it's in my head, and then actually having another female go, you're not, this is a safe space, you're right, your feelings are validated. And that's how we create change. And then, I've spoken to some amazing male artists and producers who are supporting, and there are also those who are silent, but that's how any change comes. It's just finding allies and working together to shift and make change. But talking is key, I think. Just
I agree.
Keep rolling. Yeah,
I agree.
Somebody said
solutions
in the chat, and it's so true. Like, we have to go. Part of how to fix this is, I mean, Sabi and Kelly both said it, like, you have to get to the point where you're building your own table. Like, it's great to have a seat at the table, that's awesome, but like, if you have the power and you have empowered yourself to, number one, know what's in your contract, to understand how to read a contract, and to know how do I get my music on streaming, how do I get my music on playlists, just myself, so I don't have to hire someone to do it, like figure out how to get those channels, like make these things less mysterious. That's you creating an opportunity for yourself, and that is you creating the table that you can then sit at and invite others to come sit with you. It's like, if I build it, if I've recorded this, if I've made this show, if I have created this production situation where I can teach other people to play an instrument, or I can teach other people to write these songs, or I can teach other people how to program, then all of a sudden everybody's wanting to come to you. Like, the situation with my Apple situation is probably the best example. I started my show, Color Me Country, on my own. It was here in my basement in Durham. And I just started out calling people that I knew, friends, that I knew in the industry, other Black artists, other Latina artists that were doing country music and trying to just tell our stories. It wasn't even like, let's sit around and bash the industry for an hour. Like, it was just like, tell me your story. Tell me how you got here. Tell me what you're working on. And then an excuse to play their music. And so this was a show, I was literally a week away from starting the show on my own. And I already had a website up. I had already done all the stuff. And a friend of a friend well, first of all, it ended up in the New York Times for some reason. I just tweeted about it and someone put it in an article and I was like, what? But a friend of mine had a deal with Apple and told them about my show. And they were like, this is something that you may want to consider having on Apple Music Country. And so a week out from me releasing the show on my own, I get a phone call saying, we'd love to have a meeting with you. And then I ended up signing the deal with them. But had I not gone ahead and done the show and done all the work, then there would have been nothing for anybody to come to me for. So it's like, it sounds so cliche, but it is so true. If you build it, they will come.
They will come.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we have to build it, all of us. If you're tired of playing the game, because it is a game,
Yep,
if you're tired of playing the game, build it.
It's true. And they're like, the building process is not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
I'd say like when I got out of my record deal, like officially, legally, all ties, I think it was 2015, 2016. And I was exhausted. I was like, I need a break. I have to remember that I'm a human being and not a product and all this stuff. And so I went on this whole like spiritual journey. But then afterwards, I felt like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? Because going from having a full machine that is like running everything from marketing to like social media, all this or that, and getting you places, you just show up and perform. You just show up and sing. That was a big difference than like building the legal structure and building marketing structures and platforms that could hold my art. And so having like trying to figure out, oh, I have this brilliant idea to create something, but then nowhere to put it or like nowhere to like protect it was very challenging. So you have to build it, but don't get it twisted. It's not easy.
No, it's not. But that's what you said. Like, and that's another thing that people on the outside that want to know how they can help. If you have expertise in legal, like if you're a lawyer and you know how to do these things, offer your services. If I'm not saying give everybody free everything, but like offer your services, figure out a way to make your services accessible for people that may not necessarily have it. Or if you're a songwriter, maybe have a workshop every now and again for songwriters that you find that have potential but don't have publishing deals, and like help them to figure out this is how you construct this on your own, and this is how you can get these songs pitched or whatever. Like, it takes outside people too. Like, that's how you can be an ally. Like, ally is like the word of 2020, 2021. So that's how you can be an ally. You don't have to necessarily be an artist, or you don't have to necessarily be like, here's $10,000, go forth. Like, if you have,
I'll take it though, yeah.
But if you have it, we would like it. No, but anything that your expertise is in, offer that to artists. Like, you have no idea. Like, one of the things that we do with the Artist Fund, people have given some of the artists publicity. Like, that's huge. Just start writing a bio for them for their website, or writing a press release for them. Like, that's a big deal. And so like, you can do little things. It doesn't take you writing a $5,000 check, $10,000 check. Like, just offer your services.
I love that, Reese. So big takeaways: build it, they will come. Also, how can you be an ally? Offer services, offer whatever you can do, bios, helping with demos. If you can donate, whatever, if you can repost something, sometimes just reposting, buying people's music. It's amazing how many people say, oh, I'm going to come to your show and don't show up. Just did you have your invisible cloak on that day? Like, just little things help. We're all out here. So like, just support us. Okay. We only have a few more minutes, so we have a little game time action. Okay. So we have a game time question for you ladies. Though this person may not be deserving of this, who would you like to be a Black woman for a day, and why?
You already know my
briefly.
answer. I mean, you had the same answer. But then she was like, she'll be, never mind. I was gonna say Donald Trump came to mind first, but just to have like, the actual experience, like the lived experience of being a woman of color in this country from birth till, adulthood and everything that comes with that psychologically and emotionally. I'd be interested to see if how that would be if he could somehow have memory of being Trump, but then starting over and going through like 30 years of being a woman of color. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, same. I mean, I'd have to echo that for our mini Trump Boris. So it'd be the same. Yeah, it would be so great. Yeah. So, yeah.
Um, any Lord, any
Anyone.
I was gonna say any white man that I've worked with at my former label. And then, and then talk to them about their hair and all that kind of stuff. And like,
exactly.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
we have to do something with your hair because it's just, I don't know if they're going to like a curly afro. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask you guys a couple questions. Question from Jocelyn. Do you guys have any rituals that help you survive these incredibly unfair struggles that not only women, but especially women of color in our industry face?
This.
Yeah, this and working out. I love working out. Just taking control of like just my own, when you work out and stuff, and Pilates, I love that as well. It's just, for me, it's the one thing that no one else can control. It's just my relationship with myself, and what I put in is what I get out, and it's just all about me and my moment, and it's not going to depend on whether someone says they like the sound of that kick drum or something, or like, yeah, or whether I'm whatever. I think that's a bit of a ritual for me. I'm really into fitness, and yeah, it puts my head in a good place really to take stuff on.
I
There's
have a
actually
similar experience. Oh, go ahead.
go for it.
No, I was going to say fitness was when I got out of my deal and just felt like completely like, I don't know, just what am I doing as a person, as a human anymore? Like getting back in tune with my own body was so helpful and so grounding. And I pressed into yoga because of the breath work and like the physical work. And then I spent a lot of time in nature. And those are the two things that I rely on even to this day, even though I'm not fully involved in the artist side of things. It's still very grounding for me to this day. And like you said, like it helps me get my mind like in order. Ritual.
Another question from Derek Nunn. Back to the numbers for the statistics again, about songwriting and artists. How much do we hold ourselves accountable as a community for these numbers? Do men hire female producers, songwriters? Also, like for us, do we seek out to work with female producers and songwriters? And that's a big thing. Like there's an artist I've been wanting to work with for a long time. And she released an album recently, and I looked at the credits, and it was like 95% men, and I was shocked that it was male writers on almost every song except like one, which kind of made me think like, wow, my shot was smaller than I thought. Getting on this project, so like, yeah, for you guys, like, how do you feel about that?
I would love to work with female producers. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to work with female producers. I have one homegirl that I know. Her name is Sarah the Instrumentalist, and she is fire. And her sound is like jazz, trip hop, like vibe. But I don't know too many others. My homegirl Tiffany, who does the Girl Makes Beats, but I would love to write with, and I've written with you, Autumn. Those are some of my favorite sessions because it was like girl talk, and we put it on a record. You know what I mean? Now the label never let them out, but that's another story. But I I think moving forward, because I've taken a break from making music and I just sort of do it here and there, and only working with people that I trusted, that were male, that were legitimately my friends, legitimately have my back. There's no of the other stuff. Um, that's what I've been doing, but I want to work with female producers and stuff. So I'm going to look for that moving forward for sure.
She is the Music has a database of female producers and engineers, and we're going to post that link in a second.
Oh,
But
you know, yes.
Yeah.
solutions up in here. Okay, go on, ladies.
Can I quickly jump in on a question that I saw, because I don't want us to run out of time? I think it's really important. It was from Simone asking about how do you overcome challenges in sessions so you may feel stereotyped being a woman of color, you know, in a room. And I just want to say, for anyone on here who might be worried about something or a situation, just realize the power of saying no. And it's even like simple things like I've been sent like a dance record and they've said that they want like a big gospel house vocal, and I'm like, I just go, I'm not a gospel singer, and I can point you in the direction of some of the vocalists that you might want to work with instead, who make this sound. And you know, just sort of also calling out people's ignorance on that kind of things. Just because I'm mixed race or a Black woman, it doesn't mean that my vocal means I can sing this, you know. And that's and then there's none of that. It's not bad feeling either. It's just like, just power of going, no, this is me, this is what I do. And you know, if you're in a writing session, the same thing. Like, there is this kind of like Blackness and this kind of level of how Black are we or whatever, and certain behaviors we're supposed to have, and this ridiculous stuff, and actually just going, well, this is who I am, this is what I like, and if you're looking for this, try this person, you know. And yeah, and I think that's also how we hold our own in this kind of business, is not allowing ignorance to just continue on its merry way.
No, you said a mouthful. I think the power of no is really important. And that's the thing that I try to say. I mean, that's something that I'm trying to learn at, you know, after 20 years in the business, but also teach that. Like you just said, I may not be I'm not that kind of Black girl. Like, and just being okay with like, that's not what I do. That's not who I am. That's not my experience. If you would like to work with someone who has had that experience or does have that capacity, then by all means, here's some other people that you can work with. But like, it's okay to not be all the things for all the people. Like, it's totally fine. And it actually weeds out a lot of heartbreak, I think. It'll keep you from doing things and extending yourself in ways that you're not interested in extending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we only have you guys for a couple more minutes. What are you guys working on? What should we look forward to? And yeah, where can we follow you? Like, let us know where to plug in with all this stuff.
I'll just go because I'm on this side of the screen. I don't know, but at Sabby Sounds on everything, Twitter, Instagram. You can listen to my show Monday through Friday on Apple Music, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard, easy hits. It's all soul and vibe and feel good, laid back records. I will be working on music, and I just launched a shirt line called Original Source. Thank you.
Nice.
All my art designs on shirts.
Love
it.
Thank you.
When I get back. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
My show is on Sundays and every other Sunday. So tonight is a show night. It's called Color Me Country Radio with Reese Palmer on Apple Music Country. And I'm working on new music. I'm trying to in the midst. I have 2 small children in the middle of this too. So like I'm trying to do like all the things, but you can find me at Reese Palmer, ReesePalmerMusic.com. On most social media, it's just Reese Palmer or Reese Palmer Music. And yeah, and just follow the show and follow social media.
Yes. Power mom. I love that. And For me, you can find me at kelly-lee.com. All my socials are at Kelly Lee UK. I've got my next single dropping in like 2 weeks. I just shot the video, which I'm very excited about. That's on my label. So yeah, that's the next one coming. It's a big one, bold one. I'm really excited for this record. The other thing is, for anyone here who might be an independent artist, I started a playlist for independent artists in the first lockdown last year, and it ended up having 9,500 subscribers. Another company called Hypertribe, who specialise in looking out for independent artists, came on board the playlist. So we've now relaunched, rebranded. It's called Fresh Dose. So you can find Fresh Dose playlists on Spotify, which is the top 20 independent artists of the week. And this playlist this week is banging. So please check it out. And now we've got Fresh Dose Pop, Fresh Dose Dance, Fresh Dose Hip Hop, Fresh Dose Singer-Songwriter. We actually don't have Fresh Dose Country, so maybe I need to hit up Reese for that. So yeah, for your independent artists, there's freshdose.co.uk. So submit your music through there, and we're building the independent artist community. So I'm really proud of that. And yeah, so
that is so dope.
Thank you. And can I just say one thing? What I love is that you two have both mentioned your Apple shows, and I found Apple to be really supportive of my independent music as well. So I just want to say thanks to Apple, because whilst we're discussing the stuff that has been hard, for the people that do make change and open doors and give us opportunities, that is amazing. So there's a lot of Apple love in this room, clearly. So yeah. Apple.
Keep the lights on. So we
yeah, exactly.
I love this. Thank you guys so much for doing this. I want to thank Sona for hosting this event. If you're not a member of Sona, please go to wearesona.com, which stands for Songwriters of North America. Sona is an advocacy group which fights for our rights as songwriters. They do so much work. You have no idea, behind the scenes, making sure we get paid and are treated fairly in a very, very tough industry where most people don't want that for us. So please join Sona and support them. And support these women, okay? Like, it's Black History now.
Yes.
Now.
And you, Autumn, thank you for doing this. I mean, like, when the moment I met you, we just clicked, and you're just so inspiring. It was so nice to meet a woman
real.
that relate to experience. You just trailblaze. So yeah.
Thank you. That means a lot. I love you guys so much. And I hope we can all hang out in person soon.
Yes, it was so nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too. Get some drinks and some shots and some like.
All right. I love you guys. Thank you for joining, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. It was helpful. I hope you learned something. And just thank you all so much. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.